Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you that I went to Holland for a coaching conference to see Bobby Knight speak.
Nice.
I mean, it wasn't a case of like he's not in London, therefore, like, you know,
Yeah.
I can't go and, you know, listen to him and watch him. Made it happen. You got to make these things happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just put the fact that it's in a different country or a different city.
Yeah.
You can't let those things put you
No
off,
excuse.
right? Find a way. I mean, look, you shared a story about what it was like in Nigeria where, you know, you made your own backboard and hoop. Your love and your passion found a way. Do you know what I mean? You made it work. And if you're passionate about coaching, if you're passionate about playing, then you're not going to let any excuses get in your way.
Yeah.
Right? It'll find a way. You will find a way to make it work.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Basketball Nation Presents Beyond the Athlete podcast. Today we have another special guest. Well, all our guests are pretty much special. This one, I would say, for me, growing up, watching him on pretty much on the scene, the basketball scene in the UK, was really inspiring. For someone his height that had amazing jumping ability, can shoot the ball well, a very skilled playmaker, and now passing on his knowledge to a lot of pro athletes such as Obi Soko, and also working with WBBL athletes like Holly Winterburn, as well as some of the other London Lion players, amongst other professional athletes. Today we have professional basketball skills trainer, Mr. Gary Maitland.
Oh, I appreciate you, man. You lotioned me up nice, man. What do you want, man? What do you need from me?
Nothing. No, we're good, man. We're good. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Gary.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. I just remember that whole street ball scene growing up. It was crazy. I remember like yourself, people like Teo as well, jumping out the building. I remember those Brighton tournaments.
Listen, those things are lost in the archives, man.
I know.
Not much footage or evidence that they even existed, you know, bits and pieces. But that was an era.
Not even the CDs. I remember having the CDs as well, watching it back. So you're watching And One, but you're also watching you guys on streetball.co.uk, and it's like, yeah, man, those years. I think those years really helped develop what basketball is today. That was a very strong foundation in terms of giving us an identity. I think it's still growing. So we're going to discuss a bit about that as well today. But first of all, I would like, as much as I've done an intro, I would like you to tell us, what was your journey like? How did you get into basketball? What was it like from when you started playing, the first time you touched the ball? How did that feel? And your journey all the way through from then?
Wow, yeah. So growing up, my parents were super keen on sports. Like they met playing sport, and sport has always been a massive feature of my childhood. And we had like bits of equipment just lying around the house, out in the back garden, in the garage. And it just so happened that a basketball hoop, like a really basic cheap one, was like pinned against the wall, back of the house. Like no bracket, you know, with an overhang, just literally just, you know, screwed into the wall. And it was there. So subliminally something was there. And I remember shooting it to it every now and then. But then I got to an age where I was going into secondary school. The kids on my street, we lived in a cul-de-sac. So kids were out in the street, right? That was normal. We were just playing football, playing tag, you name it. Everything was going on in the street. And the older kids introduced me to bouncing a ball. Where, like, historically, you know, you see a ball and you kick it, right?
Yeah.
So I remember he said, look, hey, can you do this? And he was doing the scissor dribble, you know, where you like go between the legs, jump, go between the legs the other way. And he was like, how many can you do in a row without messing up? And I think it was a football. Like, but I was like, man, listen, you challenge me, then I'm going to try. And as soon as I had that challenge of like, right, see how many you can do in a row, that was it. I was like hooked on this idea of practice, hooked on this idea of trying to master something really interesting that I hadn't seen before. So it was a combination of that and also the 92 Olympics. So at the same time, Olympics in 92 in Barcelona. On the TV, we're only talking about a 1 hour time difference. So we could watch everything without losing any sleep.
Yeah.
International sport was always a big thing in the household. So my parents would like put a timeout on life so that any international sport was on the TV. So the Olympics was a big feature, and 92 is the dream team. So my eyes then got introduced to Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, blah, 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 blah. So at the very same time where my street friends were introducing me to the game, Michael Jordan was introducing me to the game.
Wow.
And that's when I was like, nah, this is something else. So going scissors between the legs became shooting against the backboard, like what I didn't even know was called a layup. But an older guy was like, here, look, hit the corner of the square. It goes in. How many times can you get that done in a row? Boom, I'm hooked. Like, and then there's no turning back.
Yeah.
So we're looking at like 11 turning 12. And then the school I went to, again, pretty lucky actually, because most schools have got fields where they're playing football, rugby, cricket. Man, my school in Northwest London, no fields, nothing. So there were hoops everywhere. Like we must have had about 6 or 7 outdoor hoops.
Wow.
And everybody was playing. So going to the school, that's all we did. Break time, lunchtime. All the guys also went to a local park in Harrow in Northwest London. Cunningham Park is like the place where you went and played.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm like in this culture of hooping, and it was when I got to the age of 13, turning 14, year 9, where I noticed that in the changing room of the PE changing room at school, on the notice board was a list of like all the sports that we play in school and contact numbers for local clubs in case any students wanted to go and reach out and play outside of school. So on that notice board was Tony Garbalotto's number for the London Towers. Legend, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know who that is. I just see the name. So I write the number down, go home, and then my mum calls up this number and speaks to Tony on the other end. And Tony's like, yeah, London Towers, we're a professional team based over in Wembley at the time, and we run sessions in the area. Boom. Went down there. Little did I know that Tony Garbalotto ends up being, as you said, the legend.
Yeah.
And he was my first coach.
Wow.
So I was in good hands. That evolved, went up the age groups, moved on to Joe White. So
another great legend.
Another great legend.
Yeah.
Right? Rest in peace. And the fantastic thing about all of this is I'm completely unaware, blissfully unaware that I am around greatness. Not just greatness in the sense of coaching, but greatness with players who are around me. So my generation, 1 year above me, is Drew Sullivan. And I'm seeing him go to play high school in the States, move on to Villanova, blah, 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 blah. My teammate is Olu Babalola. Again, goes to the States, goes to the players at Clemson, has a professional career. So this is the kind of timing of the conveyor belt that I jump on. So I'm in a mix of guys who are fully like down with competing, developing, and excelling themselves and pushing themselves onto the next level. So I'm just riding the wave, So that's my kind of like junior basketball in a nutshell. I played on the national team, so I got to play in the European Championships. Wow, that was an eye-opening experience. You know, we had to play against Russia 1 year. Russia had Andrei Kirilenko.
Wow.
Now, I didn't know that was Andrei Kirilenko at the time.
Yeah.
It was only in hindsight where I realized, like, wow, we played against that guy. Now he's an NBA, European NBA legend, you know. So, yeah, eye-opening. It made me realize that, wow, like, you can be great in your school. You can be great in your town, city. You could be great in your country. But until you experience what basketball is like from a global perspective, wow. Small fish in a huge pond, you know.
Very.
But wanted to explore it, so that's when I, moved out to the States. So I went out to a school in the South. I was in Mississippi my first year, close to New Orleans, Hammond in Louisiana in my second year. And those were my, some of my best years of my basketball career for sure. Just from a personal development, skill development, understanding myself as a person, grew in confidence, which I guess thinking about it now, that really set me up for a career in coaching, because without that level of confidence, I don't think I'd be able to communicate with people the way I do now.
Yeah. I think it's quite similar for me as well. I actually grew up liking sports, but I was very restricted from it. So I grew up in Nigeria. I came here when I was 12. I'm 35 now. And my dad used to keep me in the house whilst he was playing sports with my cousins to just study.
Okay.
So I became a rebel. I always wanted that made me hungry to play sports. And then my cousin introduced me to basketball. And the way I was introduced to basketball was completely different to a lot of people. Maybe not a lot of people, but a lot of people, especially in the UK. It was that we went to a carpenter, created our own backboards.
No way.
Used a chalk to draw the boxes on the backboards. Had a welder bend one of those like really hard rods, and then used nails to like hold it in place.
For real?
And hung it on our grandma's balcony. And that's how I started playing basketball. There was a point where my cousin and I actually made a ball. It wasn't a basketball size, but it was a ball using rubber bands.
Rubber bands? Wow.
Yeah.
Love that.
And then we started using footballs. And then I think when he started playing in secondary school over there, that's when he started using basketballs. And that's how I got interested. But I was horrible. So when I came to the UK in 2000, I said to him, when I next see you, I'm going to be way better than you. I'm way better than him now. But he still plays every now and then, but he's got family and stuff like that, so he's got a lot of commitments. But yeah, so my love just started from there, and I didn't watch Michael Jordan, but I grew up watching Kobe Bryant. And yeah, that just took me to another level when it came to basketball. And I think I was maybe about 15 when 15 when LeBron went into the league as well. So those guys, I was very hooked onto it. And but then my parents weren't sporty. My dad was. He could have made it in football here, but they were both into fashion. So my whole journey has been basketball and fashion.
Hey, there's a close link.
Yeah,
close link.
Exactly. So I never thought I would even be here, like, doing anything to do with basketball. So the journey is quite interesting. So me saying that, my next question is, why do you love the game so much?
Why do I love it? I suppose the love has evolved over time. Originally, I think it was the love of the challenge, the love of something new. Then it became the love of the aesthetics, just seeing how the human body can jump and change direction and hold form and then finish so gracefully. That I admired, it made me want to kind of replicate that with my hang time moves and things like that.
Oh yeah, your hang time was crazy though.
Listen,
your hang time was crazy. I still remember that dunk where you pulled it back.
Listen,
that was crazy.
I think I take it for granted.
Yeah.
Now I'm a little bit older. I can jump a little bit.
Yeah.
But man, back then, I really loved just being in the air. It was a signature moment for me. Just taking off and knowing with confidence that I had control while I was not touching the floor anymore. It's quite wild when you think about it like that. But yeah, I loved that side of the game. And then I started to love the details. And I think I have to thank all my coaches throughout my years for that, because I think they made me aware of the details. They made me aware of how the details can really have a positive impact on your performance.
Yeah.
And without that, you're kind of guessing. You're kind of potentially doing half a job, right? So once I was able to process those details, I wanted to share that. I wanted to share that with other people.
Yeah.
And that became coaching. And now my love became being able to communicate the game in a different way, helping people. Yeah. I think fundamentally, I belong in the service industry because I just love being able to share information and help somebody get to the next level. Yeah. Amazing people helped me along the way. So I think it's probably me saying, this is how I'm going to contribute on this planet. So my love transformed. It began with playing and the aesthetics around playing, then it became coaching.
And is it still transforming?
Yeah, for sure. Because, my early days of coaching, it was about team basketball, and then I quickly learned that, yes, like we need to be able to play
Yeah.
the game as a team.
Yeah.
5 players need to be on the same page,
Mm.
or those on the court. But without, the individual skills of each player, the tactics are limited. How can you finish at the basket? How can you shoot the open 3? How can you make the extra pass? How can you handle pressure if you don't have the skill set? So I realized that there's a gap in the market for somebody who really needs to focus on this stuff.
Yeah.
So it evolved again. So my love for coaching basketball from a team perspective then transformed. Then it went, super narrowly focused into the details of an individual player.
Okay. And going back to the previous question in regards to, so your parents were into sports, you're into sports, now your son also plays the game.
All 3 of them.
So
all 3 of them
didn't know you
jokers
had
play.
more than one.
All 3, man.
Because I only follow one of them, and he actually
Okay.
follows us as well. So I see his games and his journey, and it's like he's got the same bounce that you had as
Getting
well,
up.
which is crazy.
He's getting up. I
Yeah,
mean,
and he's really good.
my eldest who's 21.
Okay.
Latrell, he's fantastic player. Kind of picked it up a little bit later.
Okay.
Interestingly, like as a dad, I put the ball in his hands quite early. I think at 4 years old.
Yeah.
But then he navigated more towards football. And then came back towards basketball. So around about the age of 14, 15, he was like, Dad, I want to take this, more seriously. So he really started to have a little bit more of a performance mindset around the age of 15. And has been playing college basketball for the last 2 years in the States.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
And then Amari, middle son.
Yeah.
You're going to learn to read, write, and get buckets.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are the things.
Yeah.
So from an early age, the ball was in his hands and he was learning to dribble. I mean, the stuff that he could do at 5 years old was insane.
Wow.
So what you see now is, someone who's playing longer than others and put in a big chunk of time. But now, we're seeing, he's now 15 and he's developed the physicality. And as the clips you've seen, he's now, jumping out the gym a little bit. So, and then Blake's next, man. He's 8, so he wants to play me one-on-one every night. So
that's good.
Yeah, he's next. He's bragging at the moment about how he beats me, one-on-one in the house and stuff. So, but yeah, sorry, I digressed. But yeah, all 3 of them jokers play, man. They love it.
That's good. I like to see that. When I did tell my wife, when we start having kids, boy and girls, they're gonna learn how to play basketball. There's no way they're not learn how to play. But they can go into other sports. They can learn other sports as well, tennis, football. But basketball has to be in there as well, 100%.
Well, do you know what? When basketball is delivered properly,
yes,
there are so many like life lessons that you can extract from it. I mean, and I must stress, it's got to be done in the right way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that coaching can actually have a negative impact on a person, if
100%.
it's done in a very kind of aggressive, bully-like way.
Yeah.
But when it's done right, an individual, a young kid can really learn some self-discipline. They can really learn to focus. They can learn, the healthy ways of communicating, with their teammates. Accountability. It's pretty significant.
Very. Do you think in the UK right now, especially the UK ecosystem of basketball, especially for the youth, do you think that's in place, or do you think it's lacking?
Well, it's definitely lacking.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean to say that there aren't good things happening, that there aren't great things happening, that there aren't, average things happening that are working towards, better output.
Yeah.
But we're definitely lacking, and I think we're lacking on a few levels. We're lacking on coach education. It's very difficult for a coach to upskill themselves.
Yeah.
And I think when you have that culture where people are kind of just learning by themselves or seeking, a very saturated, YouTube or any social media platform, right? It's very saturated with content. It's very difficult to sift through it and figure out what's the good stuff, what's the bad stuff, what's the things that are kind of wasting our time. So it means that progress is slow from a coaching standpoint.
Mm.
You know, we need more people sharing. We need more people talking. We need more coaching clinics. We need more coaches asking to see others in practice.
Yeah.
You know, to learn. And I think sometimes it's not about picking up new things, but sometimes it's realizing, or it's strengthening your own philosophy. You know, it's realizing what you don't want to do, or you can see things that don't work.
Yeah.
And it's that camaraderie, it's that coaching community that we need to strengthen.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that, and that's something that's always been on my mind. I'm thinking back to when the Mayor of London and the NBA had their event about investment into, I think it's about 50 coaches or a certain number of coaches by 2025, and I have mixed views about it for myself, because I feel like it's great to invest in the coaches, but then what's going to be the effect afterwards? Is this new coaches or existing coaches already? I don't know if you know much about it, but it would be great to hear your point of view around that, if like what you think, basically.
Yeah, I think I know as much as you, really, in the fact that there is an incentive, there is a push for developing coaches, which is fantastic. Like, I don't want to, undervalue that.
Of course.
But obviously the quality eventually is going to be in the delivery of that program.
Yes.
And whether it's upskilling existing coaches or whether it's bringing new coaches into the game, either way is going to be great, right? But again, what's quantity without the quality, right?
Yes.
So just bringing in new coaches, might tick a box for participation, might tick a box for a number of things.
Yeah.
But if we want to start developing players to the point at which, as a nation, we're able to compete at the highest levels in Europe, both at junior club level and at junior national team level, which would then obviously graduate to senior men's and women's. If we want that, then we really need to level up with the coaching. I mean, big time, big time, because I mean, you only have to look at, junior national teams to see the difference, in execution, the quality of shooting, the quality of ball movement, just the synergy and the understanding that players have. We pick it up quite late. We do pick it up quite late. And that's got nothing to do with intellect or enthusiasm for the game. It's got nothing to do with that. It's a combination of, culturally, we start playing basketball quite late.
Yeah.
That's one factor. And then the other factor is that we don't have the quality coaching that holds players accountable and really promotes that style of play.
I like when you mentioned that as a nation that we need to do more, because I do think as much as basketball could be a London thing, could be a Manchester thing, could be a Birmingham thing, it really should be a nation thing. It should be a national importance, the same way football is. Even I don't think football is even a national importance as it used to be, like that. But it's still there. And I think basketball should be the same as well, especially with the crowd that it brings in. A lot of people that we're connected to now that never watch basketball, football players, they're now looking at basketball since we started Basketball Nation, saying, oh, wow, compared to football, this seems a lot more vibrant. Because when you look at the crowds, when you go to a game, like we took some guys to the London Lions game, and they were like, compared to football is nice, it's a bit archaic, a little bit, not much of an experience. But with basketball, it's like this family, is so many people that from different walks of life, and it's like, it's just fun. Even when you're chanting against the other team, it's like, it's fun. It's like you could be from the other crowd that you want to join in, basically. So they're seeing that now, thanks to obviously with the London Lions and the amazing work that's been done, especially this past season. So a lot more interest is going to go into basketball now, and a lot more people are wanting to participate in basketball now. I had a guest on the podcast, Moses Rashid, who runs one of the largest premium sneaker marketplaces, the Edit London, and he's just got a 2-year partnership with Chicago Bulls. but he sell, like, his company basically sells sneakers as well as other luxury goods as well, and he's now started playing basketball. So he's in Clapham Common Courts playing. He books out the Regal to play as well.
Yeah.
So like he's starting to like love the game and have a big interest in it, and it's amazing to see. So imagine how many other people that we don't see that really getting into it now as well. And I just feel like it needs to be a national thing, and I don't know how that could work or change, or who could actually take it up to that level, basically, to say, listen, you guys need to watch what's happening here within the sports. What can we do to expand it a bit more, where we're more competitive, especially in European championships? We're actually participating in world championships like the one coming up as well. But for yourself as a basketball skills trainer, what are you currently contributing, especially with the players that you're developing right now? How does that work in terms of like your sessions, what you're contributing to them, what they're taking away from you, and also what do you look for in those players that you actually train?
Yeah, wow, big question. So I guess what's the purpose, right? The purpose is players who really kind of see themselves as basketball players are always thinking about improving. Always. They're thinking about how can they get more minutes?
Yeah.
How can they be on the starting five?
Yeah.
How can they make the national team? How can they get a scholarship? How can they get their first pro contract? How can they get a better pro contract? So there's always this this mentality of leveling up, right? Having this mentality of getting to the next level, bodying it and then moving on to the next level after that. So this is where I feel like I come in, right? Because a player can walk into a gym with a basketball, hoops come down, and you can work out. That's the great thing about basketball, right? You can go to a park and you can work out. That's awesome. But you can't do it by yourself. If you've got somebody who is purely just focusing in on improving your shooting, not just getting large amount of reps up, but how can we make those mechanics a little bit more efficient? That's where I come in. And I can almost speed up the process in which that improvement is happening. So when players come to me, it's because, they need to get into shape, they need to improve, they need to get the next contract. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. What do they get out of it? Well, if you're looking at the summer, then we're talking about approximately 3-month commitment that they can make, right? And broadly speaking, that period of time is a good amount of time to be ready to then walk into your team practice, into the training camp, and just be looking and feeling sharp.
Okay. And what skills and qualities would you say are essential for a professional basketball player?
Yeah. Similar to any player that wants to play at a higher level, I think one thing that most professionals have in common is their ability to take feedback, receive an objective and a subjective point of view.
Yeah.
Right? They're open to that dialogue. I think as soon as you meet someone who's not open to that dialogue, you've just got this barrier in the way.
Yeah.
And when that barrier is up, it's a dead end, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's very difficult to progress. So you ask about what are some of the skills and qualities that I look for. Well, it's nothing really to do with basketball. It's purely to do with human nature, right? It's like human behavior. So one is that coachability. Two is that, being able to sacrifice your body and give everything in that workout. That doesn't even have to be a physical thing. That could be a mental thing. Because I'll tell you right now that if it's about reconstructing a jump shot, it's not going to be a very physical workout. But wow, mentally it's going to be exhausting. Because you're going to have to focus on parts of your body that you haven't focused on before. And you have to consistently nail certain things and repeat and hope that we start breaking bad habits. So yeah, I look for those behaviors, those human behaviors that just promote a healthy environment where we're going to get in, get some quality work done, get out, and we will both want to do that again tomorrow.
Are those trainable things as well? As a skills coach, can you train those attributes as well?
You can do, for sure. I mean, sometimes, like, we don't know what we don't know, right? So if you don't realize that a coach is supposed to give you feedback and you're supposed to have a conversation about that, and chop it up a little bit and work things out. If you don't realize that that is a healthy way of development, then being, around that for the first time and understanding that that's important to move forward, that can be developed. Some players I know, when we first started working out, there probably was a little bit of a barrier, probably a little bit of insecurity, both sides, and then, but once you kind of get that trust, the barriers removed, and yes, you can develop healthy lines of communication. You can develop the ability to listen better. You can develop the the enthusiasm for working out at a more of an intense rate. Those things for sure can be developed. But if they're developed too slowly, might missing out on opportunity.
Yeah, that's true. And motivation has a big part to play as well. How would you, especially with the players that you currently train as well, or you've trained in the past, how do you keep them motivated to stay on job, basically, with their development, especially during the summer where it's easy for someone to, when they're back in the UK, when they come from the States, or they're taking a break from, obviously, from maybe other commitments, and they just want to maybe 18, 19-year-old, they want to go out, they want to go and party, they want to see their friends in the short time that they have, they want to do all sorts of things, they want to travel, have a holiday, but the work needs to be done, or else next season you could easily be dropped from your team or not have that much minutes. But then how do you keep those players motivated?
I think fortunately, most of the players I work with, in fact, I'll go out and say all of the players I work with are motivated, right?
Amazing, that's good.
The reason why you're stepping 2 feet into the gym with me is because you're a motivated individual, right? If you lack that motivation, I don't even think you'd show up, right? So I think that's part one. However, basketball excellence, if you like, developing that can be very boring, very mundane, right? Very, repetitive, right? Yeah. Because if you're trying to master something, you have to go through those periods of doing the same thing over and over and over again. So for me, that becomes now a challenge because there are many ways that you can skin this cat, right? Like you could repeat literally the same drill and the same exercise over and over again, and you could get better at that drill. But the point isn't to get good at the drill. The point is to become a better basketball player. Yeah. So for me, it's about shocking the body a little bit, shocking the mind, and giving them different challenges, giving them different actions, giving them different ways to execute. And what that does is that kind of gives them a little bit of a different flavor, something new to tackle. And that's a great way. That's a great way to keep the motivation high, because it's just changing the landscape a little bit. But ultimately, we're still focused on whatever, It could be, scoring off a pick and roll. It could be, shooting the three, whatever it is. Like, we're still focused on that. But how we do that, I'm going to change the look of it a little bit so that it can feel brand new.
I have a question in regards to Grassroots, especially the young athletes. So within our platform, I think with a lot of the guys that we have and ladies as well, the majority of them are pretty much between the age of 16 and 21. A lot of them don't really know what they want to do, especially when it comes to basketball. They see a lot of this. They get emails or contacts from maybe certain coaches saying, hey, I've got this scholarship for you, but it's like you have to pay a $2,000 fee before we move on to the next stage and all that kind of stuff.
Really? That's happening?
Oh yeah, trust me.
Wow.
Yeah, because I've had some requests from some guys saying, "Hi, coach. I just got this message or this email. I think this would be great for me to expand my basketball skills and my exposure. Can you help me with so and so? I'll be grateful." And I have, because I know how this works basically. So I look into these things before even respond to them. I actually do my research as well, and then come back to them and say, "Listen, this is what this looks like." If a coach, and then I also say, if a coach really wants you, they won't be asking you for money as well. They won't ask you to pay for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And sometimes that could also be disheartening to some of these guys because they really want to improve and they really want to be better. But a lot of them don't have that community. Well, Basketball Nation now is creating that community, but they didn't have that community to be able to get better, to excel, or to even compete against the best of the best. How important is grassroots? And from your experience, obviously playing basketball to now coaching and then seeing your sons playing as well, how important is grassroots to UK basketball? And also, how do we improve on it as well? Because there's a lot of guys that are actually lost out there.
Yeah. I mean, grassroots is probably the most important thing. I mean, how do we develop players if we don't get them early, right? So the quality of everything for that age needs to be high. So, which means there's a lot of responsibility for everybody. It means that we need to have parents who understand, what it takes to play basketball. They need to be supportive and help get their children to a venue or get them the shoes or the whatever, a ball, so that there's that level of commitment. There's the level of commitment for the club to be able to provide quality coaches who know how to speak to children, like understand that it's a very vulnerable age. And we need to get this right because it can go very wrong and players can be completely put off by basketball if it's not done correctly. So there's a huge responsibility to get that bit right. There's a responsibility for our professional league to get that right because we want to inspire a generation. So we want to make the league an exciting league where we've got homegrown talent, we've got exciting international players coming in, that they see it on YouTube and TV and Instagram and Twitter, all of them, TikTok, you name it. It needs to be exciting. So we've got content creators who need to do their bit, to showcase the game. Because it's the grassroots, it's the younger generation who are going to absorb all of this information, this data, this content. And that's why it's really important that we get that, we get that right.
Okay. Amazing. Going back on conversation you had about coaches, a lack of a coaching community. I really want to ask a question around that because I believe a community of coaches would be quite ideal and important because of the sharing of information as well. Do you feel like coaches aren't willing to build those relationships, or are they willing to build those relationships? And what do you think would be able to establish that collaboration between coaches as well and establish a community that's long lasting, not just something that lasts a few years and then everyone kind of goes their separate ways, but something that's long lasting?
Yeah, tough one. I think historically, and this isn't exclusive to to the UK. I'm sure this is happening all over the world. But I think when we got clubs who are competing against each other, it's very easy to almost treat other clubs like the enemy. You're trying to beat them. You want the best kids. You want more kids. You want your club to thrive. So right there, you've got humans now who are very territorial, around which players should be playing at which club, and any movement between players. It creates this, weirdly, it creates this bad vibe. So that doesn't help, because now, coaches, potentially you've got a platform where they all hate each other, right? Because they want to win and they want to develop talent and blah, blah, blah. So it's tough to get rid of that, because then that trickles down. And then players, if they're under, bad guidance, will also see other players, other opponents as the enemy. And then you just don't have this community where you're sharing, information. So I think there needs to be more done to bring everybody together. There's no pointing finger at who needs to do that or who isn't doing that. I just think people need to create these environments where that happens. I mean, take, for example, the recent Hoops Fix tournament.
I really liked that. I'm upset I couldn't come to it, but that was really good.
Yeah, I mean, the whole weekend is just a way for, its whole purpose, right, is to bring people together. Right? It brings players together so they can connect, and they do. I mean, players share each other's highlights and stuff all the time. Right? It is phenomenal. Right? So Hoops Fix helps do that. Right? You've got all these content creators producing all this amazing stuff for people to watch, bringing people together. Right? That brings people together. You've got podcasts like this bringing people together. The Hoops Fix coaching conference, on day 1 and the morning of day 2, actually. Again, bringing coaches together, having it streamed, and then being able to distribute it in various ways. That is bringing people together. Yeah. So bringing people together can be packaged in so many different ways. Yeah. But fundamentally, the only way it's going to happen is to promote people talking to each other, is to promote people sharing, giving us an insight into what it's like, and then being open to questions, then being reachable, and I think that is the type of people that we need running the game.
Yeah, and it's powerful, because it's something that when I saw that Hoop Fix coaching conference, I was really inspired, because I was like, wow, like I've always thought about something like this, but I didn't know that it existed like that, or it was lacking as well. And when I saw that, I thought that was quite powerful, because now the players will also see that, and that would even inspire them a bit more to be like, oh wow, okay, this coaches are actually coming together to because they see the importance of us excelling as well. And I thought that showed an amazing message to players, really, and even to other coaches who may not have seen that, or may not have been there. Maybe they're even in Scotland or Wales or other countries, that now it could even become rather than a national thing, a more international type of conference eventually. And
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you that I went to Holland for a coaching conference to see Bobby Knight speak. Nice. I mean, it wasn't a case of like, he's not in London, therefore, like, I can't go and, listen to him and watch him. Made it happen. You got to make these things happen. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just put the fact that it's in a different country, a different city. Yeah. You can't let those things put you off, right? Find a way. I mean, look, you shared a story about what it was like in Nigeria, where, you made your own backboard and hoop. Your love and your passion found a way. Do you know what I mean? You made it work. And if you're passionate about coaching, if you're passionate about playing, then you're not going to let any excuses get in your way. Yeah. Right? It'll find a way. You will find a way to make it work. And I think that is an important message to get out there, right? Yeah. Like, don't let geography or, resources get in your way. Yeah. Find a way that's going to help it work. Find a way that's going to make you improve, so that, you can move on to better things, but you can also help other people move on to better things. Exactly.
And that, what you just said there, helping people, that's the most important thing. When we started Basketball Nation, it was all about helping people. That's always been our focus. That's always been the message that we put out there. And when we actually have sessions with the guys, the message is, you're seeing us do this. We're not charging. We're making sure that we're bringing value. Even when we don't have sessions, we're actually building relationships with other people to bring more value to you guys. We're trying to create things. So right now, we're even doing research and working on creating the first basketball sneaker coming out of the UK.
Really? Okay.
So to show these guys that, listen, create.
Oh yeah.
Don't just
I'm a
sit back.
size 11.
Okay, no worries, no worries. No worries. Create that there's no restrictions whatsoever. Like 5 of you can come together and say, I'm gonna start this podcast for basketball in the UK. I'm gonna create, we're even looking at video games as well, or I'm gonna create this gaming community of basketball players, or I'm gonna create the first maybe like tech inspired and like tech infused basketball that collects data of your training ability. Like, do you know what I mean? So like there's nothing that they can't do, but because there's a community behind them. There's yourself, there's myself, there's the London Lions, there's so many, there's Hoops Fix, there's Hoop Space, there's so many of these communities that we can easily all come together and say and back what someone's doing, because it's benefiting the community, it's benefiting certain individuals, it's benefiting the economy as well, which is another big thing. So
yeah, big time. I think that's one you touched on something there. I think one thing that really needs to improve is our basketball economy.
Yeah.
Because we're too busy trying to figure out how to do things for free, right? Like we're trying to ask for help all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, if we can actually improve the basketball economy so that there is money being circulated, it means that the quality can go up because the resources will go up.
Yeah.
And I think, and there's a balance, right? Obviously, giving back is very, very important.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, you know, we need more money circulating.
Yeah.
So that the levels can just
can
climb.
Yeah. Because one thing I've learned from my mentor is that there's no way I can't go and ask someone for £1 million if what I have or myself isn't ready for that £1 million. Because if I get that £1 million, what am I going to do? I'm mostly going to crash it. So I need to get myself to that point where I'm actually prepared and ready to connect with that £1 million basically. And the thing is that you wouldn't have to even look for it when you're at that level. It just comes to you basically, and then you do what you need to do with it. And that's the way I've always seen it, because even like this podcast, I wanted to start this last year, but part of me wasn't ready for it. It happened when it was meant to happen, because I had to go through a certain process of understanding things, of being able to build relationships with people, of being able to speak to people, of being able to speak to the guys during our sessions, because I hated speaking. To now say, okay, it's time. Let's do this. So that's very, very key. Our economy has to grow, but we also have to grow to be able to develop an economy within for anyone else to come in and be part of that economy as well and help us grow it.
You said it. It. It requires a level of personal investment before you can get investment from elsewhere. Yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, let me think of that from my side of this conversation as well. Like, you know, for me to reach out to a professional player and say, look, you know, like, you know, do you want some work? You know, I can help you out this summer. I can help you improve. Do you need help with your shooting? Whatever it is, right? Like, for me to even have that conversation, I've got to have put the time in. I've got to have already invested in some time to develop my own teaching methods, right? So, you know, I spent a number of years going out to the US and being around Drew Hanlon with his NBA clients. I mean, he didn't pay me to do that. That's me. I paid for that ticket. I paid for that hotel room. I paid for my food, right? Yeah. But the return on that investment is the knowledge and the insight that I can then share with people in my circle. Yeah. And I'm constantly trying to do that just so I can level up and provide the best service possible. So if people aren't willing to invest in themselves, how can you expect people to invest in you? Yeah,
that's true. That's true. And yeah, that's so important. And I'm hoping that everyone is listening to this, because that's such a key point as well. And that is not just on the resource side, but also on a even personal side as well. If you invest the time into your craft, it will always pay you back as well. Yeah. So that's amazing. Thank you, Gary. I have 3 more questions.
Sure.
These are
Let's do it.
Not related, well, still related to basketball, but not related to our line of questions asked. So my next question is, do you have a question for me?
Oh. Do I have a question for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you mentioned about how like last year you weren't ready for the podcast and you had some development to do and here you are, you're like 2 feet in, right? So 5 years time. In fact, no, 5 years too far. Let's go 3 years. Where are you in 3 years?
My answer is very, very controversial, but I'm still going to say an alternative league in the UK, professional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And your involvement in that?
Running it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why that's where I am 3 years time.
Okay.
That's one part. Second part is for the community, developing a video game as well through Basketball Nation, and hopefully have established 1 or 2 players who are maybe like 13, 14 now to a high level of basketball skill wise. And yeah, that's it. I want to say create a pathway to maybe going to college and stuff like that, but I'm I like that, but I'm very, very strong on developing players here that can compete with those guys in Europe as well as there. But it's also you finding the technique that would help them get to that level as well.
Sure.
Because each nation has its own culture. We need to identify what our culture is here in the UK for basketball.
Definitely, yeah.
Because we've been copying and pasting so many times. So now it's us about us identifying that culture here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So we've got the video and audio evidence. So in 3 years, right, we're going to recycle this.
Yeah.
Right. And you're going to be doing the tip off for your first game in your league.
Yeah.
And we're going to have this video footage.
100%. 100%.
Awesome. Good luck with that.
Thank you. Next question is start, bench, trade. This one is very interesting. LeBron, MJ, Kobe. This is our favorite one.
Right. Say that again.
Start, bench, trade.
Start, bench, and trade.
LeBron, MJ. Well,
oh, it's actually easy. I don't know why I'm.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's actually easy.
Yeah.
I'm starting MJ.
Of course, yeah.
I'm benching Kobe.
Yeah.
And I'm trading LeBron.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make that go viral. Yeah. People will love to talk about how I put LeBron in the trade conversation.
Do you know what who did I have recently? I had someone say they'll start LeBron and bench Kobe and trade MJ.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
At this table?
Not this table. Okay. It was an online podcast with someone. You're gonna hear it anyway. He's actually part of the NBA Europe team as well.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But it's his generation also. So he never watched MJ play. That was his excuse. But he watched Kobe play. No, he actually said he would start Kobe and bench LeBron. So yeah.
And trade MJ.
Yeah. Wow. And then I've Matt from Ballers Live, and I tell this to everyone because his answer, he's one person that explained his answer. He said that he would trade LeBron, but I think he said he would trade LeBron or Kobe, one of them anyway. But he said that because he would be able to get a few really good pieces around those other players as well. And
oh man, that's a GM talking right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess here's the rationale for me, and I think it's around of those 3, right? Michael Jordan is by far the best basketball player, right? Like LeBron, you could say, has had the best career out of those 3 in terms of longevity and being able to perform at a rate and a level for so long, right? That is great. Yeah. Okay, so let me not, cause too many arguments here. Like that is greatness. But the way Michael Jordan approached the game, the way he played the game, I don't think there's anybody who could compare to that. And if there is anybody who could compare to that, then it's Kobe.
Yeah, 100%. That's true. Last question. Who would you recommend or like to see on this podcast?
Who would I like to see on this podcast? I would like to see like somebody close to reach or someone
You
hard to reach?
You can mention both if you want.
The person who really who jumped to my mind is Adam Silver,
Okay.
because you mentioned about starting up your league, and I think that insight and conversation between the two of you would be really interesting. You know, you seeing it as a startup business with Adam Silver, who inherited a very successful MBA and has taken it to different levels.
Yeah.
I think that conversation would be really insightful.
Okay. And if someone that's close,
Someone that's close, someone that's close. Sam Nita.
okay. I have been trying to get him. We were actually scheduled a few times, just the same way as yourself. And we were actually going to do it in the NBA store, but that never fell through. So we got the space now, but we've been speaking again, which is great because I know he's been super, super busy. So this summer, hopefully I can get him. If not, then maybe after the summer definitely, because I know he's got so much on his plate right now.
A lot going on there.
But he'll be really good to have on, definitely.
Yep.
So yeah. Thank you, Gary, for coming on. I really
thank you,
appreciate
David.
it.
Appreciate it.
Great conversation. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. This is Basketball Nation presents Beyond the Athlete podcast. Peace out and take care.